welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today for our In Their Own Words series. We're really excited to hear what you have to say today. So let's start by you jumping right in and telling us your tennis story and your work at Grassroots Tennis.
Thank you very much, Chantal. I appreciate very much for inviting me to talk about my tennis story and the work I do at Grassroots. Started tennis a while back in Africa, in Kenya, where I was introduced to tennis by an Irishman who was a teacher at my school. This was my high school when I went to high school, freshman in high school, and got me excited about tennis. And from then, played tennis to college level back in Africa, at the University of Nairobi in Kenya. Then I came to the US the year 1998, finished my graduate studies and at a school not too far from where I am now in Springfield, Massachusetts, focused on sports management. Then I, as usual, kept playing tennis, got involved with tennis at the college. In Massachusetts, got to know a few friends who linked me up after I graduated with Norwalk Grassroots Tennis. And after I graduated, I came down to Connecticut from Massachusetts, met a gentleman by the name of Arthur Goldblatt, who was by then the founder of Norwalk Grassroots Tennis. It used to be called that way. And it used to be a summer program, so came down looking for a summer job. He hooked me up with it. I taught, I think, for 6 to 8 weeks. When the summer ended, I told him, fine, I may need now to pack and head back to Africa. And he was kind of said, hey, you know what, how about if we offered you something more, maybe get you another job somewhere to teach some tennis. And I told him it would be a good option if it's possible, but if it's not, you know, back home, I wanted to go back home and revive tennis with what I'd learned in America. Fortunately, then he organized with a friend of his who owned one of the indoor clubs, and I got hired there. I worked during the winter of the year 2000. And during that time, I kind of was seeing, kind of building on what he had seen during the summer, with what we did, getting the kids excited, getting them wanting to play the game more. And he thought, okay, fine, how about if we add the winter, take a few of the kids who are excited and want to play and get them involved in an indoor program. So we started bringing them in to where I was working, and I happened to kind of keep the relationship going with the kids and playing the game and teaching them the basics of playing tennis. And with that, the kids started getting better. And slowly and slowly we said, hey, in a couple of weeks, we said, why don't we get an indoor court for these kids? Then you said, all right, we've never done it before. Let's look for some money. And the club where we were, which is by then Kings Highway Tennis Club in Darien, they gave us a very good deal, big discount on tennis, use of the indoor court. So we had a season court. I think we paid maybe $1,500 for the whole winter season, which was fabulous.
That's a deal.
So our next challenge after that was, how are we going to get the kids to go to the club? Because where we were located during the summer, the kids just walked to the tennis court. Now we're looking at 20-minute drive from where they live. So we said that would be a small hurdle to cross. So we said we get some volunteers, offer some rides to the kids. So slowly and slowly, Norwalk Grassroots grew from a summer program to a winter program. And we played some tennis with some of the kids. They got better. Then the spring came around. Thank God we had rented the court from September all the way to March. So when March came around, weather was good, we headed back outdoors. So we said, why don't we have a spring season before the summer? So spring tennis took off, recruited more kids. Then by then there was a USTA league. I forget what the name of the league was called. Laurel Cup. I think that was the name, Laurel Cup. And it was a league for teams, and we had our kids got good, and we thought next step is to get them involved in competition. So we said, why don't we get them involved in competition, take them, sign them up. But the competition that was being held in the Laurel League was a mixed doubles junior event. We didn't have girls. Majority of the kids we had were boys. The girls were there, but they were not ready for competition. So we looked around, and on that day when we were looking around, we saw we had girls volunteers from neighboring towns who had come to volunteer to work with our kids. So we said, hey, let's recruit them to start us off and get our volunteers to be part of the team. And that's how we started. Played the Laurel Cup, did so well that year. Summertime came, program grew in numbers. And then we discovered, here's summer, 1 year gone, we have hit a whole year of tennis activity. Can we do it again? So Art and his board of directors and other well-wishers of the program decided to go and raise money. We needed money for transportation, to rent more court time, to be involved in the leagues, to play tournaments, to equip these kids with the rackets, the balls. So all of a sudden the program started building, getting bigger. And fast forward to 20 years ago, we are in a very, very fortunate point now where the program has grown year round since then. And we have produced so many young players who have gone on to play college tennis, who have gone on to get a good education in college, and who have gone on even done well in other aspects of their lives just because they were involved in a program that had some form of structure. It was chaotic structure, but it was a structure that built on building their own confidence in what they could do. At the moment, last week, we had a graduation for some high school kids who have just graduated. Some of them are going to wonderful colleges. One of them is going to Brown. And it puts smiles on our faces when we say, yes, they played tennis up to the level, high school level, played on their high school teams. Now they're branching out into life. And that's a great success for the program, so that it not only compounds what our volunteers and our supporters have been doing, but it's a true testament that this grassroots program work. The Grassroots Tennis Education of Norwalk and Stanford works. It has been in existence for all this time, and it has been through a lot of support from well-wishers that it has blossomed to what it is now. And we're just hoping and praying that it keeps going with the support of the USTA to even greater heights.
Yes, we are big fans of grassroots tennis, Norwalk, Stanford, and you're one of my favorite coaches. So it's been lovely to connect with you and the whole grassroots staff. It's just, you guys are doing amazing work. So thank you for contributing to New England tennis. We really appreciate it. So historically, Black tennis has a really rich history, and I was curious if you had something to share with us that we may not know specifically about Black tennis.
So I came to the US and I didn't know much about the Black tennis. But when I came here to the US, I was fascinated with what you have here in the US in terms of facilities and of growing the game. The only challenge is that when I came, I think that when I came to the US, I discovered this was the time maybe Serena was getting on the platform and Venus were getting there to be great ambassadors of the sport. I wasn't that much aware of Arthur Ashe's legacy before. I didn't know much about Arthur Ashe until I came here to know who he was. I heard about him when I was in Africa. And I know he did go down to South Africa, visit my Nelson Mandela and to play tennis down there. What I came to realize later on, and when I look at tennis, having come up my tennis background in Africa, tennis in Africa, I was fortunate enough to go to a school that had tennis courts. If I did not, I would not be where I am now. And not many schools in Kenya have tennis courts. I was just happy and lucky to go to one. So when I look at Arthur Ashe's history and how he started playing tennis in a public facility. His upbringing, the way he started. And it showed me that for the Black tennis history here in America, that is basically grassroots tennis. That's grassroots tennis. Starting in a public facility that is open to anybody to come and play. So I know it is common knowledge to people here that the way he started, but for us back home or people who have never been associated with American Black tennis history, we always looked at tennis as being a game for the elite. But looking at where Arthur Ashe came from, he started as a grassroots tennis player. And it's phenomenal to know that what I'm doing now, trying to promote kids, trying to get kids to play the game, is the way the great Arthur Ashe started. And it's just a blessing that we're able to equip these kids with that same feeling and same pathway that hopefully they can do things like what Arthur Ashe did.
Yeah, he's just one of my favorite tennis icons, being one of the founders of National Junior Tennis and Learning, which is what, Grassroots is, fortunately a part of that network. And the work that USTA does through NJTL is so inspiring. So I just thank you for reminding me of, our own Grassroots and where they started, because I think he, had this vision, and I and I think if I have my timeline correct, the U.S. had gone, through similar, situation that we're facing today. Again, talking about making things equitable and fair. And so it's just such a good and timely reminder of his work and what that means and how far it's come, but yet how far we still need to go. So with that, what opportunities do you see specifically in the sport of tennis to help us tackle some of these racial inequality issues?
I'm happy with what's going on now in the world when it comes to racial inequality. The awareness it has brought to majority of people in the world, even back home in Africa, it's having an impact. But when I look at what I and other people who are involved in tennis and what we can do so that we can tackle this tough issue, the number one thing I see is building a sense of inclusion and building it from the grassroots position. You know, as I told you, when I came to the US, when I go to the US Open and I look at the players, you know, it was very, very difficult to find an African American or Hispanic African player playing at the US Open. There were very few. James Blake, Serena, there were very, very few. And if you look at the current situation, we find on the women's side, there are more African Americans or Latino women playing who are from America. On the men's side, there's still a struggle. The numbers are not there yet. Even the women, the numbers are not where we'd want them to be. But when I come to see and look at the reasoning behind all this, why have these numbers not gone up? Considering this is a first world nation. This nation, you walk around to any good sized city that has a high school or has a public park, you will find tennis courts. Something that is not there in Africa. Wherever in Africa you find a tennis court, it's a private club. So, when you have such facilities, tennis courts in a public park or a school, that is the bare minimum you would need to promote the game of tennis. Things like balls, equipment, all that, that can be found. So to tackle the issue now of promoting or growing the size of minorities playing the game, we need to go back to the grassroots foundation. Let's make tennis more accessible. Let's make tennis more affordable. Because if we don't, there is no way, as we all know, tennis is an expensive sport, unfortunately, but it can be made accessible and it can be made affordable, whether it is in group settings. And I think some cities have been able to do that. Cities you go where you find a big, like I understand Atlanta or Georgia, I hear the population playing tennis of minorities in those cities is big, but in some areas it's not. But I believe in any city you are in, the grassroots setting is the number one setting that you need as a platform to promote the game. I remember I was reading an article where Arthur Ashe, every time he would come when he was a pro and he was told to go promote a tennis activity, he would need to know, is there a public park somewhere close by? Because he knew for him to give back, he needed to go to a place where people can easily be able to play the sport. I think over the years and the way it's been going and the expense of the sport has made it difficult for the minorities to be able to manage. Talk about tournament fees, talk about the travel, talk about the equipment, talk about the coaching. It is all a big hardship for minorities or for the low income groups. And if we want to promote those groups, we need to make it affordable. Let's go out there. Let's equip these parks. Let's equip these grassroots programs with expertise in teaching, expertise promoting their coaches. Let's go out there and recruit some of the top minds in tennis and let's send them down there to help grassroots programs. Because if we sit back and say, fine, we send them the money, we send them the equipment, but if they don't have the technical know-how, it's also still a challenge. If we can get competent coaches in our communities, we are going to grow the base. And all we need is the base. If we can grow the base, be it, let's say here in Norwalk, right now in our program, we have 2 high schools. Kids from our program provide 22 of those 2 high school, 22 players on their high school teams are from the grassroots programs. When we started, we had only 2 kids from grassroots playing on those high school teams. So we have proven that if you set up a system and you fund it and you promote it and you put your checks and balances into it, it is going to produce the results. Because all these kids need at the grassroots level is somebody to care, somebody to love them, somebody to come and help them, and somebody to show them the way. And that is the toughest battle. As we all know, to get a player to start playing tennis from a beginner to a tournament level player, it takes years and it takes a lot of hardship. So from my perspective, the way I look at it, to tackle some of these tough issues, we have to grow the base, and the base can only be grown by providing the resources and the opportunities for these grassroots programs.
Yes, and we are, we are doing our best to fund as many programs and that are already in our network, establish new programs. We're working closely with National. They have a whole new, it's called USTA for coaches. And there's a lot, I hope, within the next 5 years that will really help, grassroots tennis across the country explode. And then, we're working, we have a new Tennis in the Parks program at USTA New England. So we are definitely in the grassroots mindset. We know that great players come from public courts and from programs such as Grassroots Tennis Norwalk Stanford. So we hear you, David. We are working as fast as we can.
The other part, Chantal, which is just to cement what the beauty that USTA is growing. And I've had the USTA is now even promoting a lot of high school activities, tennis activities, because when you look even from our perspective, when our kids go to play high school tennis, they play the tennis. So if they don't make it to the college level, then they're left in a place saying, why did I play this sport? I can only play with my friends. But I think there are other careers, even in the tennis field.
Absolutely.
Be it officiating, be it coaching, be it managing, be it organizing, that these opportunities can be taken up by these kids who are either graduating from college or graduating from high school. So I'm happy to hear the USTA now is looking at that whole pathway of promoting minorities from the grassroots level up to the level, depending on where somebody wants to branch out and look at it as a profession, which is wonderful to see.
Yes, we are doing our absolute best. So we are getting a little close to time. So any last final thought to share with our New England tennis family?
I usually say we're fortunate enough in New England that we have a big group of supporters of the game of tennis. Very, very fortunate. It is expensive playing tennis in New England, especially during the winter. But the support we get from New England tennis fans is amazing. What I would say is, let's all think of helping more. Let us all think of building more. So wherever we are, whether we're in a club, whether we're in a Parks and Rec program, whether we are in an academy somewhere, whether you're a player, a parent, a coach, an individual involved in the game, let us do more by helping others and opening opportunities for other people who may not be aware of what's going on. The only way we can promote, especially those who are underserved, is to get them involved. We can say all we want to say, but unless I go out there and I promote a young man, a young woman to play the sport and mentor them in the direction, that I know will benefit them best later on, then we know we're doing the right step. But overall, in New England, UST New England is doing a fabulous job. And I know us as a section, we can do greater things to support our communities.
Well, on that note, David, thank you. You couldn't have said it better than me.
Thank you.
Supporting USTA New England. Thank you.
You
David,
guys support
you're
us.
amazing.
Love what you do. We believe that if it was not for USTA, as I told you, the first league we played was the Laurel Cup by USTA. We said that is the right track we want our kids to go into. And since then, I've never seen the UST New England waver from supporting grassroots tennis. And we keep growing. With your support, I think the skies will be the limit for us.
I hope so, David. I hope we just grow and grow and grow. But thank you so much for sharing today. We appreciate it. And we will be in touch very soon. And we can't wait to hear more about what you're doing and what your kids are doing. So thank you. And we'll talk really soon. Thank you so much, David.
Thanks.
Thank you.